Hey everybody, my name is Elise Amelia Tretherick. I am the founder and co-host of the Get Yours podcast, what you're listening to right now. Today's guest is serial entrepreneur Giovanna Melfi, a former executive in the luxury fashion sector who transformed into a businesswoman, career coach, women empowerment mentor, and sustainability investor, all with a passion for technology and innovation that brought her to found Metamorphosis Biz, a consultancy firm in the business and digital transformation sector dedicated to strategy and governance for SMEs and startups based in Hong Kong. That is amazing. You are all over the world, and I love it. Then Verba Communications, a communications firm in the Web3 space, focusing on branding, investor relations, and event management, which is based in Dubai. Again, you are all over. With over 20 years of experience in retail, you really know customer experience and marketing offline and online. It's really important to know both, and you are an expert in all of these. With your expertise lies a solid understanding of people as clients, as employees, and as humans. In addition, Giovanna has honed her branding, content creation, and social media marketing skills. Her expertise spans a whole bunch of different sectors from tech, retail, fashion, really giving you a well-rounded perspective of marketing. And her education reflects her dedication to her craft. She's got a bachelor's degree into political science, a master's in international politics, executive education from IMD Business School, MIT Sloan School of Management, and Columbia Business School. When did you have time to live? This is amazing. Your academic achievements have really provided you a strong foundation in critical thinking and thought leadership, which you've really successfully applied across your work. All over the board. And throughout this podcast, you're going to be sharing your insights on changing the landscape of marketing, including the impact of new technologies, the importance of creating meaningful connections with consumers, and your passion for creating equitable spaces for women in Web3, which is how we met. And you are the pioneer, like really changing things. You changed my life. And I'm excited to talk about that. So I'm excited to talk about your experiences working with different industries. And if possibly we have time, maybe some ideas on tailoring marketing strategies to suit specific business needs, including the brands that you founded yourself, which are very impressive and seem like with your you're just like me, serial entrepreneur, like let's have another. Oh, I have 5 minutes. Let's get start another amazing business with an amazing ethos. So you really, in a lighthearted way, get shit done. And I love it. I really look up to you. You're a mentor to me and so many other women that you're cultivating like this community around. So is there anything that I forgot in this little bio? And if there is, please let our listeners know.
Well, first and foremost, Elise, thank you so much for having me. I apologize for my little voice because living in Dubai, I have a huge amount of air conditioning that's constantly on my face. So I'm losing my voice up and down, but I will try to make it clear for everybody. Firstly, thank you so much, Elise, for having me. I mean, almost I could cry for the kind of kindness you give it to me today. And you really inspire me as well. And I think this one is one part which I love about us, especially about women, because we inspire each other. Whatever we are doing, we always strive for more and thrive forward for a life better for us and everybody else, especially our communities. Okay. So it's true. I think I done quite a lot. When you were reading, I was like actually quite touched myself for my achievement. Yeah. But it's quite interesting because I never look back. My attitude to life is just to look forward. I never really look back. And every time I achieve something, I just tick the box. And I just move. And this one is one of the reasons maybe why I have accumulated so much stuff. I don't even know what I accumulate.
You've done a good job at accumulating amazing people in your life, great connections and community. Yeah. And that's probably why you do so well in Web3 and making things happen and creating safe spaces, especially for women to feel like they are listened to, heard, appreciated, and, connected in an honest and genuine way. That's all you were doing when I first met you. You were like, here, meet this person, here, meet this person. And it was just like another amazing woman. And as a woman, like, I want to meet and support more women in whatever I'm doing, whether it's other brands that I can integrate, like APIs or tokens, wallets, VCs. I think that we understand one another best, and we have a real power in this community that I feel like we didn't have before, which is amazing. So thank you for taking that leap and harnessing all this greatness that you see and bringing it together so we can meet one another. I appreciate you and your Telegram group that you created. So
Thank you. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
of course.
I mean, I feel that the women's circle, which is our community, is just a place where you can really share your thoughts and you can share informations.
Yeah.
And I feel that across all my years' experience of work, I always find number one, network is your power,
Mhm.
and the people around you is the real power that all of us we have.
Yeah.
Power of knowledge, power of support, power of help, power of anything. And the second part is the fact that we create communities, and communities help each other in also just to listen. You don't need to do anything, you just listen each other, and it's more than enough sometimes. So we
Totally.
need to start to go back to some basics, I believe, of communications.
Yeah, and I think Web3 does that, and we'll talk more about that. It's like we have to take it back from being this this faceless analytic to more in-person connections. Like that's where the brand building and advertisement dollars are now spent, is growing community in an honest, transparent, and genuine way that's really communicative, and we're spending that time to learn about one another instead of being so salesy like we've been the last like 15 years, and became detached. So I really like that reattachment and that building experience that we have. But before we get too much into Web3, because I could talk about it all day, um, I want to focus on you and starting at the beginning of your life. I don't know much about that, and I'm really excited to know more about. Can you tell us about your upbringing, where you were born, and how did it influence who you are in business today?
Oh, wow. Okay. So for some that they can hear, my name is Giovanna. So I'm 100% Italian and 100% from Rome, the capital city, the eternal city for many.
Wow.
I I strongly believe that I absolutely my family first and my city really influenced. They are both influenced a lot in my life. Firstly, my family. I'm coming from my mother, who has an education in psychology and sociology. She's been childhood teacher and kindergartens for over 25 years. My dad coming from a diplomatic family and a journalist family, and has been a banker for 25 years as well. So completely opposite, and as everything said, opposite attract. So they found love very young, they married, and they had three beautiful children, and I was the number one. So that one is also an important, and I want to say that because sometimes we really underestimate. So when you're number one, it's also so true that you have a lot of pressure, especially
Yeah.
from young parents, and everything is connected by your personality. In this case, my personality, my upbringing has been very strong in terms of education. My parents, both of them, they were expecting to me to arrive up to the end of all schooling without any exception whatsoever. And they were very strict with me, and especially because also I was a girl. After me, I had two brothers. And trust me, in the life, it was so much easier in certain aspect. Um, but going back to myself, I have a lot of influence by my city. So living in a city like Rome is quite peculiar. Firstly, because you are surrounded by history. So in fact, I have two majors in history, one contemporary and one modern history. You are basically walking around a city that is a museum,
Yeah.
just outdoor. So you are constantly surrounded by beauty. You're constantly surrounded by architecture. You're constantly surrounded by the history of human being from the Roman time, so the past 3,000 years. And that one is allowed you to have an open mind and an evolution, especially if you are like me, very observant to see things around me and have a critical eye since I was very young to understand, firstly, the privilege that I had to do that, and the secondly, the responsibility to go around the globe and to make sure that this one is passing on to the next generation and for everybody. So, that one, it was quite important to me. And how I bring it to business. Well, that one is definitely such a clear connection to me. I mean, now that you ask me the question, I can see even more. Firstly, I'm as a Romans in Rome, we are very outgoing people. You really find that 90%, if you come into the city, 90% of people is very friendly, speaking to everybody, smiling all the time. We are very, very open-hearted to all countries around the globe. We always been. And this one has allowed us to connect with everybody. And this kind of personality and character of our culture allowed us to communicate much easier and also to understand different people, different backgrounds, different realities. That sometimes it doesn't mean that we accept all the time, but definitely we are aware of. So I couldn't be better than a sales and a marketing person, I believe.
Do you feel like, what did your mother and father do for a living? Do you feel like, I wanted to hear that first before I ask my next question.
No problem. So definitely, I think that one of the really most important experience that I had is between my mother and my father. So my father, as a banker, is helped me to really learn financial literacy since my young age. So as soon as become a certain age, he's picked me up one day, he's bring me to a bank branch, and he start to explain me all day long everything, from interest rate to how currency work, to do exchange, everything. So at the time, I couldn't realize. I was thinking, oh my God, it's so boring. Why explain me all these kind of things? And for my father, it was important for me to understand how I could manage my money.
Yeah.
And also has been pushing me all my life to learn proper mathematics. He always told me mathematics is king of the world. You need to know numbers. It's very important for you, for your career, for your future. And I'm extremely grateful about it, and I'm today I can say that as I'm also organizing workshop for, pardon, for girls in financial literacy, especially in emerging markets, I can tell you that I was very blessed. Not everybody, doesn't mean that even if you study economics, doesn't mean that you know how to manage your house budget or how to go to the bank and negotiate your loan or your mortgage. It's not that easy. So I'm extremely grateful to my father for that. And my mother, on the completely opposite side, he was a psychologist and a sociologist. So everything he was about people, everything he was about read people body language, read people when they speak to you. Are they look into your eyes? Are they turn their eyes around? Do they put the eyes down? Certain kind of physical behavior who tell you who they are behind the scenes, things that you don't see every day. And that one allow me also to, this is one of the reasons also why I decided to pursue my career, because I wanted to understand how every country around the globe have a different kind of diplomacy, how they talk into each other, and how different culture, not only race, not only religions, but really culture of each country can make a difference, and they influence each other in the way we communicate. And so I'm very grateful also to my mom, because it's really opened my mind more on the human side. So you see, in one side, I had a father with mathematics, and the other one had a mother for sociology. So I think I'm a very good mix.
Yeah, I love that, and that's why I feel like you're so good at, reading people, which is really important in marketing and just business in general, to know when people are comfortable or like what they're thinking just by their body language and eye movement, and just really, it's so amazing, mostly for in real life interactions or even on video. And you're able to carry conversations and understand what people are going through, and kind of like guide things in a new and interesting way. So that's what I wanted to like get at. If you feel like you are a product of what your parents did or what they taught you, and I think that in some way we either we are, or sometimes not, because of the things that we've seen our parents do and gone in a completely different direction. But most of the people I've interviewed have been, have had a parent that either like does storytelling or own their own business and wanted to replicate and seen that strength. And I love, hearing that about your mother and father, and how they really wanted to help, mold you into this really well-rounded person that knew a lot about, these two things that are really important, especially in the line of marketing and business. You're dealing with money, you're dealing with people. So it's really important to know both. And like, that's perfect. That's amazing. Were there any specific, childhood memories that you have or can remember that have impacted your professional life? Like any moment in particular that you kind of think back upon, or you think this was when I kind of knew what I wanted to do with my life, or where I kind of saw my life changing into being the person that I was today?
Yes, I really do, because when I was 7 years old, I was brought to an association, a community, which is a scouting, International Scouting Association. Now, there are many association of scouts around the globe, and I want to specify that every country has a different associations. The one that is called Ajashi is in Italy, and is a Catholic association where you have girls, so Girl Guide and Scout Boys. They are working together. They are not separate, and they are helping each other to create a different kind of path, which is an independence, which is collaborative, which is community driven. And I think that that one really changed my life, because my personality, my character, I think is really forged at the time where I was able to understand what is a meaning to be in a group of girls, support each other in the middle of a forest, or with a compass, or going around town. He gave me number one, pardon, he gave me number one, the observation skill. So be able to understand your surrounding and be always confident with yourself. Number two, allow me to work in a group. So collaborate with another 5 or 6 girls in my team, and teamwork, which is extremely powerful. And last, I think, is create within myself the opportunity in one way or another, without any shock whatsoever, understand my limitation. I'm human and I have limits. And it's very important that the kids, and particularly these days, with all the technology around, they don't have so much opportunity to go out there and practice into nature. I had this opportunity and I'm extremely grateful. Doesn't mean that today, if I'm going in the middle of the mountains skiing, or I'm in the middle of a city center of Dubai, the kind of approach that I have as a person is same. I'm looking at how find a point of references I get lost, how I ask people for direction if I get lost, or if I need to ask any help, how is my senses aware of my surrounding and what's happened to me. And I feel that this one, in particular as a girl, and now as a woman, traveling around the globe, having the opportunity to live in 10 different countries and 10 different religions and 10 different culture and languages that sometimes I do not understand, allow me to be always safe and always confident of myself.
I think that that's really interesting. How did or how long did that go on? Like, how long were you in that association?
Almost 20 years.
Is that kind of um like, I'm trying to think of something that I can relate here in the States. Is that like Girl Scout, Boy Scout, where you go out and you learn about those things? But I can't think of one that's like particular outside
I
of that.
think that, unfortunately, and this one is also because the Scout movement around the globe has been founded in 1917
Mhm.
by Sir Baden-Powell in UK, in London. And he was done it to try to support between World War One and World War Two a kind of new citizen mindset. So the idea for Sir Baden-Powell is to use a middle between military kind of technique,
Yeah.
but in a much more light way and
Yeah.
much more collaborative way
Wow.
to create women and men that they could be better citizens. Now, Scouts for Boys, which is the
Mhm.
book that has been wrote by Sir Baden-Powell, and it's open to everybody, not only to boys but also to girls, is quite indicative to the way of surviving, the way of moving around nature in
Yeah.
particular that today we lost. And I feel that unfortunately in the States, this one has been a little bit twisted by
Mhm.
several parts.
Yeah.
So in Europe, in UK, in Italy, in France, and Spain, around the Europe predominantly, but also around the globe, um, because I've been following up in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, there is a big headquarter. It's still quite close to the original mindset, where in the States, when I see like the cookies girls or going
Let's do it.
around, it's quite funny,
Yeah.
but found it a little bit too simplified
Mhm.
and more, and that one is a little bit less meaningful that
Yeah.
what is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And perhaps because different kind of culture that you have in the States,
Yeah.
sometimes especially the approach with parents. I mean, my parents sent me there, both of them. My mom was the biggest fan, but also my father. They sent me there because of course I had very little brothers, I had a lot of cousins, all male cousins, and she wanted me to more be independent. She
Yeah.
wanted me to be more able to travel the world without worried about me. And I think that now she will be super proud, and they are super proud because I'm very independent.
Yeah.
So you see,
I love
but
that.
and I think that this one is definitely something that helped me a lot to
Yeah.
forge my personality and to forge my person,
Mhm.
and also allow me also in terms of business, because it's helping me also to sell, is helping me to have a kind of negotiation
Yeah.
much more clear and honest. You mentioned something before about the way I am. I think that I'm attracting people predominantly because people feel that I'm honest. I'm
Yeah.
very transparent, and
Totally.
also constantly I'm sharing my life experience, because I believe that in sharing, people can resonate, or sometimes can even find a solution for their own problems, or a way that I overcome an issue maybe is help them to overcome another issue very similar.
Totally.
So there is no way that you can have a fulfillment in life if you do not share with people. And I always believe in that. Maybe this is why also we get along very well, because I was sharing almost all the time also my working experience, which is quite a lot.
And I love when you share. I love the more I feel like the more people share, the more I know, the more they're in my mind, and think about sending people, to the group or talk about it. I talk about it to almost every, woman that I speak about, or speak to on a more emotional level. I'm like, you have to, join this. Really cares about women. You can meet a lot of other women, and it's really amazing. And they're all just sharing their stories and what they're doing, and it's wonderful, and it's a successful way to be, What were some interests that you had as a child do outside of learning how to be independent AF? Did you have any instruments that you played or things that you like to do, like hobbies or anything that you still find time somehow to do today or want to again?
I wish. No, but I must admit that firstly, thanks to my experiences, I done quite a lot of volunteering since a very young age. So I volunteer at homeless places many times, giving food, help them. I volunteer in prison to support the women and to support men, to support juvenile prisons. So I'm supporting. And that kind of attitude, especially pre-start working, because somehow, unfortunately, I start work straight up to corporate. And unfortunately, maybe some of your audience resonate. When you are 23, 24, and you're getting into a new job, it's your first job, you are full on. Your head is down, you're working so hard to make it and to learn as fast as possible, absorbing, you forget everything else. And I must admit, for many years, I forgot all my mentoring, all my volunteering that I was doing when I was 15, 16, 17, 18. Completely forgot. And I found that when I decided to become an entrepreneur more than 8 years ago, and I decided, okay, now it's time for me to do something different, I decided to pick up everything I stopped a long time ago and restart again. And I felt that in this case, for example, I started to become a mentor in career coach, especially for women that they were, number one, stuck in a middle position anywhere, predominantly in corporate, where they don't know what to do, how to move up the ladder. And women that they're coming back from maternity leave or for any kind of long-term illness, and they don't know how to come back to workplace.
Yeah.
And then volunteering in accelerator and incubators program, because I wanted to go back, like when I was a leader of scouting. I was a leader of 20 kids at some point in my last years. And I want to go back to the young generation and trying to share my knowledge as much as possible to make them entrepreneurs. I always believed I mean, I wish one day I wake up and I have a fantastic creative idea to change the world. Oh my God, it will be my dream to do that. But as I don't come up with this kind of idea so far, I'm very good at doers, like you say. I'm very good to strategize. I'm very good to execution. So be part of an accelerator and incubators program allow me to help those that have clever ideas and they can really make an impact in this world with their ideas to strategize and execute so that the ideas become in reality.
Well, then you're actually bringing these ideas to reality, like I love that. That's what a lot of the things that I do, especially for people that come into Web3 and I'm, like, how about this, or how about you add that, or adding this thing, or let's see about this, or here's this really great idea. And it's so hard. And I need that too, because I am only one person. I can only think of so much. And it's like having that outer point of view from a professional, like can really, one simple idea can change everything, in a company, and one strategy and one way of thinking from somebody like you. And that's amazing that you have like such a really large and expansive, journey in volunteering, more than anybody that I've like ever looked at on LinkedIn. I was so impressed by everything that you've done in strategy and mentorship. And, it's amazing. And that's so great that you've been giving back since a young age, to those that need it, which is wonderful. And that's another reason why we get along so well, is I can't stop myself from helping other people. I'm over extended. And I'm like, yes, I can look at that proposal, or yes, I can make this flyer for you, just like anything to help anybody that needs help. I feel like that's what
Mm.
my purpose is. And it's hard to not feel that way when you wake up. And I love that feeling that I get from you, is like, that's what you want too. You're just so happy to help. And it's like, it makes me feel so good to be around you, and you support so well, which is amazing. And we'll get a bit more into your volunteer work a little further into
Yeah.
the chat. I wanted to talk about your decision to go to university and why you chose to, outside of history, to go to like MIT and Columbia, and why did you decide to study those verticals?
I think that going back to what we just talked about, it's important to keep your mind sharp and open. One thing that I always believed is that education give you the base to build your building, yourself, your whatever, your career. Doesn't mean that is always necessary. It's true, but for me has been extremely important. And I never stop reading books, even books that they are quite substantial. In my library, there is always the Kotler marketing management is always there. 1960, I think in 1962 or 1963 or something like that. I think Kotler still alive. Sorry, Mr. Kotler, if you hear us. But why? Because there is always a reference. There is days where I stand up and I say, hold on, what did he say? He says something about that. So I'm going to always revisit my book. I decided to go back to uni, actually, after a very long time, before I set up my business, because for someone like me that coming from a Gen X, I didn't born with a computer. I mean, I born with pen and paper.
Yeah.
And, and I arrived to the 90s where the computer was just starting with a little keyboard and a screen, which was very chunky and
Yeah.
huge desktop. For someone like me that is see the evolution, I believe that always I needed to keep my mind sharp and my mind open to what happened in the world. Now, of course, I was able, while working in corporate, to participate and to really see between Web 1, so the internet arrival, when we were all super excited about these new things, to the Web 2. And I was participating, especially because I was working in a big brand, and I participate to a big focus group and in e-commerce to create the first global store. And there I'd see that the opportunity of e-commerce, the opportunity of commercialize internet, that is Web 2 and digital marketing. And then I understand that I needed to know more and fast. And because I could not wait to learn, so I decided, okay, I'm going to have an executive education. I'm going to drop a course. I'm going to be on, for example, I was 3 months with MIT Sloan of Management. I did a digital communication, who allows me to allow me to understand how to use digitalization to communicate as a branding communication and as a marketing communication. And then there it was completely mind blowing for me, because it really put me in another perspective to go back and do other things. And then, of course, and then there, when you start in, accidentally, at least for me, it's like you're more hungry. You want to eat more. You want to know more. And then I decided to join 9 months a postgraduate at Columbia in a digital business. So know more about the strategy, what is behind the website, what is behind digital marketing, why we do what we do, how to read properly Google Analytics, how to do strategy of campaigns. What does it mean that you know your customer? I mean, you don't really know your customer, because we are all different. We are 8 billion people in this planet, and we are 8 billion individuals, and we are all unique. Okay. There is no one that is similar than the others.
Oh, totally.
So, how you can make big data to help you to understand the majority of people, the majority of a certain category of group, that it can be your consumers, can be your clients, can be your employees, can be anybody. And that one I feel that is really helping me. It gives me really the the knowledge to move to the next level. And this is why sometimes when I speak to my mentee or or I'm talking to panels, I always say, don't underestimate what a book can do. It can give you so many hints. Even if one book of 200 pages can give you one hint to do something better in your
Totally.
profession, in your life, well, I think is a great achievement for the book and for you to read it.
Yeah, I agree. I've gotten out of like a various amount of books that I've read, like this, usually one thing has stuck with me a lot, like that one changing thing. And that's enough, that is enough. How do you feel like what you've learned in college has changed since, like the journey of marketing now, especially that we're moving into Web3? What are the largest changes that you've seen compared from what you've learned compared to now?
Oh, wow. That one is a very big change, I must admit. Um, Going back to my quote, I hope he's not hold me for that, Mr. Cutler, but it was very funny at the beginning in the 60s. At the beginning, it was all about 4P, promo, price, product, and people. And today, I think the P is becoming, I think, almost 10. I mean, there are so many things, that so many factors, and our society is becoming so complex.
Mhm.
So, for example, one thing that I see that is literally a completely change of perspective is the fact that marketing has started to be only one way. So it was marketing, direct marketing, you remember, with the luggage, with the little trolley, going, knock the door and say,
Yep,
hello, I'm selling this, I'm selling that, right?
totally.
And then we moved into advertisement. But nevertheless, it was only one way. It
Yeah.
was only the brand talking, pushing content to the consumers, pushing content to the audience, pushing content to society. And it was only one way. And accidentally, with the arrival of internet, everything changed. We believed now on the shift of the past, especially 20 years, 15 to 20 years for sure, where is the consumer is the king. It's not only one, it's not at all one way. Actually, it's completely the opposite way,
Yeah.
where now, and that one is the part that I like most about Web3, sorry, is the fact that Web3 is about communities. It's nothing to do with advertisement. It's nothing to do with online banners or really social media. But it's about, firstly, how your consumer is engaged with you, with your brand, with your services. Do they believe you? They are on it. They don't believe you, they're out.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
And I feel that the fact that the marketing Web3 is totally built on grow hacking and community build. That is the basic of the future. We are consumers, but also we are we are ourselves the marketers. We
Yeah.
are marketing people and we are the buyers. We are sellers and buyers simultaneously. And I
Yeah.
feel that this is one part which I love most. A lot of time in the past, and especially I think more than 15 years ago now, oh my God, we used to do focus group. I used to be part of focus group, which is one technique
Yeah.
of marketing company. You remember?
Yeah.
Well, and it's like it was a little bit like at university when you have the labs exercise. I don't know. You sign up to become like a little bit a guinea pig, and you're doing you are in a room with other people, and you're talking about the
Yeah.
subject, right?
Yeah. What do you think about
So
this color or this font or this messaging,
yes.
or yeah.
So now it's completely changed, and I think that this is one of the reasons why also, and not only Web3, but I can tell you, I help today with my company, with Verba Communications, to bridge quite a lot of brands in Web2 to come to Web3. And the difficulties is they don't get it. They don't understand because for
Yeah, the value
them,
prop, they don't fully see what the value proposition is for them yet.
and also because unfortunately, product designer, product creator, they always believe their product is the king. They don't understand that is the person who's going to use the product, he's the king. Because you can create the most amazing brand, the most amazing product, but if nobody is going to use it, your product is one drop on the ocean.
Yep.
And nobody's going to know it. I
Totally.
know so many brands that they are lost. And, right now, also, like you just mentioned, I decided to support the sustainability, especially sustainable brands. And one of my brands is Bestro and Madder. When I met Vanessa Barker and Primrose Matheson in London, they were too enthusiastic in well-being and sustainability, especially in fashion. They want to use regenerative agriculture to create a cotton 100% organic, 100% biodegradable, dyeing product naturally. They want to create a brand that is 100% natural
Yeah.
for any kind of cloth because they were going around like I do around the globe watching manufacturing throw it away cloth that it was going into the land and then is going to the water and then is going to the air and create so much pollution. And they were upset. And so they decided to
Yeah.
create this brand. And when I met them, they really amazing. They inspire me so strongly that I say, I want to help you.
Yeah.
I want to help you with the money that I have. I want to support your brand and I want to help you with my experience and this is what I started to do 2 years ago now.
It's it is fast fashion is one of the worst pollution problems in the world. Like, I think it's Shein. There was another one I can't remember, but there are so many fast fashion brands that are derived from poor labor and then are just like hellaciously clogging landfills and public spaces all over the world. And it's really sad that that isn't more of a focus, even in the news and things like that, where people don't know the repercussions of this fast fashion and non-sustainable wares made from like man-made synthetic materials that do not or that are not biodegradable. And I loved, when you had shared that website. I loved it. I loved everything that was on there because it really felt like Bedstraw and Matter felt like a brand that definitely my Hellenistic astrologer and sound bowl healing wife would love. And because we're really sustainable and we try to live a sustainable life as much as possible, like we save our jars and all these things. And it's hard to find companies that have this really sustainable ethos that believe in that like fully and aren't trying to just make fast cash grabs to communities. So I loved the website. I thought it was amazing. I will include it in the podcast links as well, because it's an amazing brand. And I love how long the partners that you have in it have been doing this and what they really believe in and who they are. And Primrose, I mean, isn't that just a perfect name for for this company? I think that's amazing. Primrose, of course.
And when people ask about Bestro and Madder, they don't know there are two flowers. One is yellow, one is a little bit more pinkish reddish. And we use these two flowers basically to boil our cloth.
Yeah.
And it's natural. And I have to be honest with you, we've done quite a lot of QC and we can assure you that you can wash it up to 10, 15 times in a washing machine, of course, with the cold water, but you wash it and they're still impeccable. And when we did our own research, because all R&D is done by ourselves, we took one pair and we put it under the soil for 12 weeks and it disappeared. So that is when you really,
Wow.
so that is when you really see that if we're doing things properly,
Yeah.
if we pay a little bit more attention as a human, now I'm talking about,
Yeah.
if we pay a little bit more attention, we are able to do a lot more. Okay. Is also true, and that one concerning your question about also, the ethics, is also true that I've been in a lot of these emerging markets, and the fact that the the labor needs this job because even with the $20 that they gain every month, they can eat the family. And by the way, they are amazing people in these countries. But on the other side, what I'm really passionate about is about the way we are spending our money.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish that everybody, including this audience, understand we need to change our buying habit. Please do change it. I'm the first one to say I'm coming from so much experience in the fashion industry. I tell you, for me, the past years has been really a revolution. I literally sell all my clothes, all my handbags, all my shoes, secondary market, charity shops. It doesn't matter. Get out, clean this is why Mary Kondo is so popular. Why so popular? Yes, because she's a lovely Japanese girl, but it's also popular because she tell you need to keep the essentials and then don't buy it back. Please don't buy back.
Yeah.
Because if all of us, we are spending less money, it's true that we will have a repercussion economically. And I understand that. But on the other side, number one, we will start to produce less because it's a circle. And if we produce less, maybe we can do something else with our land. Instead to put cotton, maybe we can put tomatoes and we're going to eat and everybody will
Totally.
have food, right?
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I think that sometimes we need to be a little bit more mindful, and I really hope that all of the information that we're sharing, they are helping people to really look at the bigger picture and not only at their own life.
I am thinking of what you just said about bearing the underwear. If you haven't done a TikTok on that, y'all need to do a TikTok because I love that. I think that
Oh,
that's
we did a lovely video in Rio. Sorry, we are in Instagram. We are not in TikTok. I'm afraid. I may have to go there. Okay,
yeah,
I will do a TikTok, but we did a reels in Instagram, and it was very very popular, and
that's
people
awesome.
really loves it. We
Yeah,
do quite a lot of Instagram reels because we are producing quite a lot, and we're shooting why we are literally on working on it,
yeah.
which is very real, by the way. And but I never thought about. Well, I will think about TikTok. I promise.
TikTok's great. I poo-pooed on it because I'm, like I'm 35 and I'm like, where do I fit in? But I have learned so many things off TikTok and use it as another, a search engine that's amazing for like the hoop house I want to build, like homesteading, canning, vegan recipes. I learned so much on there. And I love seeing like really cool, interesting brands and, influencers on there sharing these cool videos. So, yeah, definitely be on there because a lot more creators and people are going there because Instagram just revoked their creator payments. So they're no longer paying creators on Reels. So a lot more people are going to be making content there in general. Not that you're looking for payment, but a lot of creators are going there
No,
and
but
thinking
thank you
that
to let me know. I didn't notice that because a lot of the videos I do with other tools.
yeah.
So I just uploading constantly videos that I do on my own. So
And
is
you guys have
I
a
don't.
great Instagram as well. It's really beautiful. Just the branding. Branding is so important, as you know, in marketing. And it really, all of the colors, the text, the placement of everything, your stories, the stories that you have on there and the little bubble highlights, they're all gorgeous. So whoever's doing that is doing a really good job in keeping with that. that company brand guide really well. And it is just like top notch and I love it. So I will have it on here, but Bedstraw plus the plus sign Matter, Madder. Please check them out. It is beautiful work. I'll get back to 100% you. Where did you go after university? Like, where's your first place of employment?
So my first, so the day after actually no, a week after my master degrees I moved to London. So now that one is another important topic, languages. So my first foreign language is French. I studied, and after, so I've been since I was 14 years old to France to speak French all summer for 1 month.
Wow.
And that one has really helped me a lot. And then after French, I studied for 1 year Russian, but it was so complicated. I was really getting a little bit crazy because it's completely different alphabet, it's a completely different grammar. It was quite difficult. So I moved to Spain and I lived in Spain for 6 months and I studied in Spain for a while. And so I can write written and spoken fluent Spanish as well. And after that, I decided that, well, everybody speak English. So what we going to do? And I have to move somewhere. So I went to London. And that one was the beginning of my adult life. And I mean, going to London in the 90s, where it was at the peak of the economical development, it was the center of the world, is allowing me to really understand what's happening in everywhere, how I could become a better person, a better professional. And from there is just at the beginning of my life. I mean, I think that one is the best move I could. Very soon it's going to be almost many years. I'm not going to tell you the number that I'm outside living outside Italy since that day, and I feel that definitely speaking English, but also speaking with different nationality and different people allow me to, to open my mind even further and my knowledge even further, my learning curve. That one for sure.
When did you learn English? Was it early on in your youth?
No, I was 23.
No.
I was 23. Oh my God. Um, I must admit that today I say to all my friends, if especially they have kids. I don't have kids. I'm still single, very happy single lady, never married, no kids. But I always say the future is humans who speak multiple languages. There is no way you can just know your own language. That one is, it doesn't help your brain. And I can tell you that all the studies that you can read around, even in Google, they are correct. I mean, I speak fluent, of course, I'm Italian, so I speak fluent Italian, I speak fluent English, I speak fluent French and Spanish. I understand a little bit Russian. I studied for 2 years Chinese. I understand barely something. And I studied for 1 year Japanese. And I understand something.
Wow.
And all of them, despite I don't speak fluently, also the other languages, especially the Eastern languages, they help me to understand how people think. So don't believe that the language is only there because you need to communicate with your mouth.
Yeah.
It's about how your brain is work. Your brain is switching from different languages, is moving fast, and is allowed you also to understand the culture, the mindset, the thinking, the way they think, the way they live, everything. It's not about just the communication language. The language is about the culture itself. And that one is extremely important. And
I
that one
wish
is
I had
yes.
learned more like you. I think that it's much more of a my wife's family is Greek and then her other part of the family is Italian and like many of them knew many languages. And it is much more of a um demand. And I think that's like historical, like
Mhm.
many people knowing many languages there. And here it's like, okay, you take Spanish, French, and that's kind of it. And no, it's just like a something, a 2-year class that you take in high school. and not really much is asked about it. It's just like kind of, okay, we have to do this, but there isn't really a big push for multiple languages, which I wish there was. I learned some French, like je m'appelle Alice, and that's about all I remember from my French class, because I was the sarcastic kid, and I don't know how I got the grades that I did. But I wish that I had learned like Japanese. I wish I had kept on with French, and German, and even Italian. So a big thing that I want to do is definitely try to learn other languages, try with my like getting older brain and all the things I'm doing in Web3. But I think it's such an incredible skill to be able to even just slightly communicate with people and appreciate, that, and have that, that knowledge and training. I think that that's something amazing. So I'm really impressed with all of the languages that you've been able to, to dip your feet into and work on communicating with other people across the world. I think that that's really amazing, and definitely takes a lot of brain power. And I'm very impressed. Through throughout where you've been in the world, how do you kind of stay motivated through all of these drastic changes that happen every few years in marketing and business? How do you stay motivated and focused, and how do you kind of face obstacles or setbacks? What's your main way to do that?
Look, I think that one important part that I always believed, and this one also I have to thank my mom for it, is about the learning of your mind, how you control your mind. Look, I've been always extremely positive by nature, as I say, always moving forward. But I always believed that I have to control the most important organ of our body, which is the brain. And it's not an organ that we can control. When I was doing biology at high school, I could understand when the doctor was saying the organ, they are direct control and not direct control. I was like, what is talking about? It was just crazy. The
Yeah.
teacher is crazy.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you, I believe that I touched the tipping point during a pandemic, because it's the point where I was really reaching my bottom, stuck in a house by myself for so many years. I never felt lonely as much as I felt during the pandemic. But at the same time, I understood what mental health is. I understood how the mind is working alone to create fear, to create film. We do huge film. I mean, I'm sometimes I'm laughing when I'm do with my mentees, and I tell them, we can do really movies. We could be Oscar nominated for everything is in our brain, and every day that during the night or during the day, the movies that we are creating in our mind, especially us as a women in particular, because as a women we are so into the survival mode of our kids, of our nature, of mature mother nature, the real mothering nature that is bringing us to have children. We are constantly in this kind of mood of survivor. So this is why our brain is simulating any risk happening around us. At any case, even when you're drinking an extra glass of wine, they already start to thinking, oh my God, I'm drinking an extra glass of wine. I cannot drive the car. I cannot do this. I have to be careful if someone approach me. I need to be careful how I dress, these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So you're thinking all of the risk management, what I call risk management of a life, and it's the brain by himself. We are not command the brain to think about that. The brain is going by himself and is out of control.
Yeah.
And that one is something that I really is really helped me a lot. I think in the past, I done quite a lot in the past 15 years in meditation, particularly. So how to meditate and how to control your brain, how you can control your thoughts, how you can make sure that your thoughts, they are not going to the wrong direction, They're not going to the dark side, like I call it, but you are keeping steady. There is so many days where I'm sit down, I look myself in the mirror, I say, okay, now shut up. Now that's it. Okay. And it works. I mean, at least for me, it works. I say to my brain, please give me a break today. I really need a quiet day.
My wife calls it story and assumption. Uh,
Yes.
and I have a big problem with that. I make a story in my head, and then I believe it's true, whether it's thinking somebody's upset with me or this isn't going to work out, and following this journey, just like letting my mind go awry when I have to be like, okay, it can be this way if we choose it. It can be another way if we choose it as well, and have to be actively engaged with the choices and thoughts in our head, which, I say this in almost, every podcast that I talk, because we talk a lot about emotions. We're not taught a lot of times, at least in the US here, to deal with emotions in any way. It is like, do not want to hear about it. Okay, this is how you share, but that's all I can remember, and it's interesting that we're expected to have it so pulled together, especially as women, so we're not hysterical. And any kind of emotion that we have has been seen as like hysterical, or she's bitchy, or she's,
Mm.
trying to overcompete or something like that. And it's really interesting to be a woman, especially in different communities that maybe underserved, or we don't have, like the proper rights and things like that. And even here in the United States, for sure, where our rights are getting taken away, like it's a really interesting place to be. And it's hard not to fall into story and assumption, but as a community, we can really band together and make changes together when we have the right mindset. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. What role has networking played in your success? Like, approaching business and professional relationships. What do you think that has done for you? And do you feel like you are a really good networker? I already know the answer.
In, no, I believe in 200% in networking. I mean, for someone like me that been traveling the world for now the past almost 30 years, and I've been living in so many countries, especially traveling by myself, I do understand perfectly when people tells me when they are with husband or wife, so when we are in a couple, in a relationship, they're moving around, not necessarily they require people around them. But I do feel, and I feel that meeting people, understand who they are, where they come from, listen their stories, but also meet them with the problematics, with the kind of who they are, is make my life so much richer. Is allow me to listen to them. I had people come to me and say to me, "Oh my God, I was just looking at you. You really listen when people talk," and I'm like, "Yeah, right, I do." But people talk, so I'm listening. Why this question? I don't understand. What's
You're
wrong?
like, duh.
Duh,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm feeling that definitely the power of the network. I mean, I wherever I go now, I have so many people, and I'm super happy when I go into central country. I always look at my at my network, and I say, "Oh, finally I can re-meet this person. Oh, finally I can grab a coffee with this person," and it make you the world so much smaller. Actually, the world is becoming like so small, like a little drop of
Yeah.
stone,
Yeah.
because of that, and make you also part of a bigger picture. Like I always say, we are not just a human for our own household or for our own local community. We are human because also we have an inside energy. We are connected to the planet, and we need to help the planet because the planet very soon is going to be very annoyed about us, as you can see. And we are connected with each other. So the power of meeting people is all about that. And I'm extremely grateful. And I never had, never, and I touch wood today, I never had a bad experience to people that they don't want to connect with me, or they don't want to meet you, or they don't want to know
Yeah.
who you are. even only for one coffee, even only for some of them, they become my best friends. So some of them, I just see them once a year. It's good enough. Why
Yeah.
not? And some of them, they reconnect. I just come to Dubai, living in Dubai. I moved from Hong Kong after 12 years in Asia Pacific. I came to Dubai where I had a reconnect with the 3, 4 friends from London, from my youth, from 20 years before. And we were looking at each other like it was yesterday. And
Yeah.
we need to catch up and we need to say, oh my God, what did you do in the past 20 years? And yes, of course, we are different. Of course, we are different humans because we evolve. But at the same time, you still have an affection. You still have something that linked with you and with them, and this is why it's amazing to be humans.
Yeah. I totally agree. And speaking on like fostering these relationships and networking, how do you feel like you yourself and what skills and like tactics you bring to other companies that you work with and strategize with? How do you foster culture and like of innovation and creativity within companies? And I think that that is also like, fostering diversity, equality, and inclusion to really create innovation and creativity at its like utmost high kind of thing, where I feel like personally, having more diversity and inclusion, and equality creates better products, and an all-around ethos in companies. What are strategies or how do you tell leaders, and brands that you work with to guide them in fostering culture and to create more like more powerful innovation?
Firstly, to be resourceful. I think that the network is my resource. So wherever I have some queries or wherever I have some doubts about anything, I just look at my network and I pick up the phone or I write an email and say, hey, can I pick your brain? Can you tell me what you think about this or what you think about that? So definitely to be resourceful. But mostly when I talk about leaders, and that one is something extremely complicated these days, in particularly for founders and CEO of startups. They are so focused so much into their own product and their own company, they don't look outside. They don't look at what they surround them. They are so centralized into their own world and without looking outside. So I always tell them, remember that you have a great idea, you have a great product, but you need to see the world out there, how it's moving and how your product can evolve. And also, I mean, something that I specialized in Verba Communications and something that I'm really keen on is about branding communication. So people misunderstand what is a meaning communication. How do you communicate out there the name of your brand? How do you communicate what is the purpose and the scope of your company? What is the purpose of your product? You produce another product and you are convinced that this product is essential for our life. Really, prove me, tell me that it is. Don't assume. There is a lot of assumptions today that they need to be demolished and they need to be cancelled completely by our mind. And we need to start to go back. And this is also why I love Web3, because community help that. If I'm going to my community and I tell them, hey guys, today I decided that I'm changing my product. What do you think about if I do this, this, and this? Is the community tells me, no, Giovanna, you're wrong.
So, yeah.
Please stay as it is because we love what you do. Or they tell me, maybe,
Yeah.
perhaps. And then, as you may know, we have something that, and one of also the main reason why, I mean, I remember at the beginning of the year 2000, I was one of the fanatic because I was working in fashion and FMCG and a luxury brand. I was a fanatic of globalization, okay? Which is, I wanted everybody have the same opportunities, okay, no matter where you are. Then I had to change my mind. And now I sign up more than 3 years ago. I mean, I've been working more intensively in the past 2 years in Web3, but I know Web3 since a while back. 5 years almost. And I'm more and more convinced of decentralization. But decentralization doesn't mean that I don't want to have everybody have the same opportunities. Decentralization is a meaning that the human beings, the masses, need to take more control of their own life.
Yep.
And that one is very important. And this is why, as a leader of a brand myself, I'm asking my community to tell me, what would you like to see from my brand that you love, that you sign up? You know, most recently, actually, before yesterday, today is Thursday. Yeah, most recently, I just spoke to my marketing team and I say, what are we going to do about, our marketing campaign, our newsletter? Do we really need a newsletter? Because a newsletter is only one way. You're communicating information about the company, but you don't have any feedback.
Yeah, totally.
What about instead to do like a virtual event where we invited for free all our subscribers to talk to us and tell us what they like about our brand and what they want to do or what we can do better? Maybe they can give us much more feedback that what is the reality.
Yeah.
So you
Totally.
see, this is the best part of the Web3, the fact that we are so active, we are so proactive, and we are so more involved in a positive way, of course, and that is the marketing that I like most.
I agree with you. Being able to actually, instead of making, big brand choices or whatever, a variety of different size brand choices, that you can ask your community what they think in an easier way. Before, it was just kind of like a Facebook group, maybe, emails where they may fill out a poll, but it's really great for them to like have that visibility with owners and creators themselves and CEOs and the heads of marketing community all coming together with cool virtual events, or like making a really interactive, like what you've done with the women's circle, an active Telegram where you can have polls, you can have quizzes and different things in there that are interesting and different, and ask people's opinions in a safer and more decentralized way. And I think that decentralization is really, especially in nonprofits where there was a board, and even like large conglomerates like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and all these decisions that they're making are just like at the top, and they're usually bad decisions for the larger portion of the community, based on single feelings or choices by those at the top. And I think that involving people in communities who are, communities are the consumers. They're the ones that are those referral programs. Those the ones that are carrying, they are your marketers. And being able to give them that point of view in your company and that say gives more loyalty to the company. Like they're actually helping this company be guided in a way. And I really love that. And that's one of the best things, I think. And one of the purposes of Web3 in general is to give the power of everything almost back to the larger group of people, which is really amazing.
And I feel that connected to that, it's very important to remember, as innovators, as a human beings, we are innovators by nature. We create social media to connect with each other on a global scale. And today, after so many years, if you consider between all of the social media, I think that they started between 2003, 2004. I remember I signed up to Facebook when I arrived to visit my cousin and my brother in Miami from Europe. And I didn't even know what it was Facebook, but I found it inspiring because at the beginning it was all about connection. It was all about communities.
Yeah.
We create tools. We are such a brilliant mind as a human, but then we exploded almost all the time. 20 years later, now social media is so exploded in so many also negative ways. Why we need to do that? Why we losing track? Why we always moving from creative innovation to make our life better, to do something good? Why we need to twist it? 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 Why we need to twist it and become something so negative, or anyway, moving into the negative territory, like, for example, using social media for, you know, activities, alternative activities. I don't want to even go there, okay, wherever. And why we always that? It's something that is really in my mind sometimes, and I'm like asking myself, as a humans, we're such a genius, but we are so poor to manage ourselves and to manage our, the exploitation that we do with each other. I mean, when I'm looking at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat, TikTok, I mean, I can do the long list. I'm not finished about anything else. We create amazing amount of tools. They make our life better, our work better, our connection better. But somehow we exploded. Somehow we always twisted to find in another way, and that one is so bad.
Yeah, I agree. It's went from one thing, and there's always bad actors in a space, to change it into something else. A lot of it is extracurricular activities with youth. That is a large part of what's on Instagram that a lot of people don't talk about, even more than, TikTok. And it is just like wild to see how social media can be used for bad. And it's a sad thing to see that.
For someone like me, that my half of my first salary, long time ago, has been used to telephone home to tell my parents, because that, I mean, going to, you remember London has this beautiful British red cabin where everybody take a picture of, right?
Yeah.
I used to go there with my little coins and calling home. And if you consider that, is incredible. I used to spend almost half of my salary to call in home.
Wow.
Now, today, everybody take it for granted.
Yeah.
WhatsApp, Messenger, Skype, Zoom. We're evolving, right? But you
Yeah.
take it for granted. When the first time I had a mobile, I almost cried because I didn't have to go inside this cabin anymore, which, by the way, I don't know if you had a chance, because when I was younger, when I was in the 90s, when you were going inside this cabin, you had a very nice picture attaching to the wall of lovely ladies that they were giving their services. Okay. So for me at 23, it was pretty shocking that I have to go to a cabin speaking to my parents in the other side. Well, it was in Italy, London was not that bad. Um, but I was surrounded by these pictures with telephone numbers with these ladies. And it was so denigratory of a woman. And for me, it was like shocking to go inside there. Every time I was inside there, I was feeling like, oh my God, someone has to do something about it. So when they decided to come up with a mobile phone with the big Motorola, flipping Motorola, oh my God, it's like vintage today. I was so pleased because so I could stay in my house and call him with my mobile phone. I didn't have to go there anymore. And
Yeah.
then when the mobiles become more and more expensive and less expensive further down the lane, this is innovation. People forget about what we achieved. For me, it was life savings. The money that I take off from the calling home every week to my parents to tell them that I was alive and kicking, and I spent going out drinking and party,
Yeah.
was so much better, right?
Yeah. How great. That's great. We had the phone booths here a lot, and you'd have to wait for somebody who would take who knows how long sometimes in the rain. It sucked. But I think that they just like removed one of the last ones in the United States because it was no longer in service. There's like nobody on the other end anymore, which is funny. And speaking about innovation, what do you think has been, especially in the last like 2 or 3 months, what do you think about the changes in marketing, good or bad, utilizing AI like ChatGPT and others? Do you feel like marketers are, largely, number one, going to be paid less or out of a job, or writers and bloggers and, like even graphic designers, photographers, UI, UX. It's posing a lot of incredible like productivity abilities. I use it almost every day, but it's also like my wife was affected almost immediately with her freelance writing work. A lot of people are now turning to that. So what do you think for like a marketing director or manager? Do you think this is good or bad? And I'd love to hear your opinion of both, because there's really two sides.
Look, personally speaking, and actually it's very funny you say that, because we are just ending March, International Women's Day, and I just delivered a workshop about diversity and inclusion and technology. And funny enough, I'm telling you, I had this conversation with a lot of corporate that were attending my workshop, in particularly corporate, okay, especially HR, which and diversity and inclusion, open innovation departments that are very popular these days. And the funny part is that I actually asked ChatGPT to help me with the presentation.
Yeah.
So, and it was absolutely amazing, because I was very naive. I went to ChatGPT and I say, hey, ChatGPT, I need to write a sentence. Hey, oh, I need to write a sentence, because what I wanted to do, I want to create a sentence that is like controversy, so that it could be like twisted in a way that the audience will start to thinking, critical thinking, and discussing about. So I was like, I'm trying to push the boundaries here. So I write it down and I say, I would like to write something about basis and discrimination. So can you please suggest me something? I was very direct, okay? And the system tells me, dear, I'm unable. It was very interesting. I should have read it to you. It's like, I'm unable to, this system is against basis and against discrimination. I'm unable to help you, go somewhere
Yeah.
else, or something like
Yeah.
that. And it was super funny. So what I did instead, I asked the machine, so I retwisted the conversation, and I say, thank you so much for your sentence. Wherever this one is going to be like a workshop where I want people thinking about. So can you tell me something? Then the machine asks, repeat me, and tells me, oh, then if it's for learning purposes, I would like to help you. And you see how funny is that?
The
So
prompts. Yeah. You got to be
it's
really
amazing.
specific. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
So that one allowed me to understand two things. Firstly, we always forgot that we create innovation. So behind the chat GPT, there is one woman, one man, a developer, people that has been setting up. Okay. Second part is, I always believe that innovation is here to help me. You see, for example, I was using it to do a better job, and at the same time I needed to compose a sentence for the machine in the way that the machine understands it. So you still need my creativity, you still need my brain. Is essential to make sure that the machine moving in the right direction. I'm not scared about AI, because I know that AI cannot reach the elevation of creativity. Even if people tell me, oh, but AI can do a thing, it can do, yeah, okay, but you are not going to be that creative or that genius like we do. And that one is going to take very, very long time.
Yeah.
On the second part, which is sometimes I'm making laugh again in my workshop and in my panels when I say to people, is that I will be super happy to work less than 40 hours a week, or less. Actually, right now I'm working 60 hours a week, by the way, because I'm launching the new business and I require to work so many more hours.
Yeah.
I will be super happy to cut my hours. Give me the same money, working less. I'm super happy to go to the gym. I'm super happy to walk around the park. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Of course, and that one is also is what we say before, Elise. We say that we need to make sure that our life quality is better.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that we stop working like crazy people. If
Yeah.
a tools innovation is here to make our life better, to enjoy our life more, is most welcome to me. I would rather prefer to get maybe the same money for working less hours, and my money I'm going to use it to charity, to helping the people in my community, to, I don't know, construction of something, or do something different, or helping planting trees in my surrounding, in my garden. Why not? I would rather prefer that we are thinking that instead to cut our job as a fear, we are changing. We can do something better. Let's do AI, the admin job. I wish that I can find a little bottom that I can do all my accounting, which I hate deeply. I hate to do accounting. I hate to do all my invoicing and my money, chasing money, do this, do that. In business, this is the part which you don't enjoy most, is the admin part. If I can have a machine who can do that, it can call my client and chase him money, I will be very happy to do that. I want to find this company. I want to find this tool so that my brain is helping other things, most important things. That one is what we need to be focused on.
Sorry, my dog is barking.
No
The wind is blowing, so there must be a leaf flying by. I think that as well. I think that it's a good and scary thing for everybody. I think like it can't completely replace humans, because there's always still needs to be a human eye to make sure that things are correct. And I think that the only thing that I worry about is if we constantly use it for data sets, then that becomes a data set eventually, like if it's published or used, and then it will start drawing from, like, AI will start drawing from AI, and the ability, like, I think that the thing with like AI is you don't know where some data sets are being pulled from, which is really interesting. Like with Midjourney, I think that's like the big thing with art right now is like Midjourney and DALL-E. You don't know what artist it's pulling from, and a lot of artists don't have give their rights, or you don't know like what's copyrighted. And I have to like make sure, I was like, please rewrite this to ensure it's not plagiarized. I use that a lot to aid and rewrite things. So I think it's like,
But do you think that, for example, for this one, do you think that maybe we have been so trustworthy in the past? Since the advent of internet, we have been open up about ourselves, how much we are surfing, how much we are going into internet, how much we are sharing.
yeah,
Now, maybe we need to start to think about, okay, as a human, we always need to touch the extreme bottom, on the right, on the left. Before nothing, now everything. Now we are super controlling. Now we are so fixated. So why we always need to pass through the extremes? Why we don't create innovation and we control it slowly, slowly? That is why, and I don't want to start any kind of course, long debate about it, but I agree. We start ChatGPT, who is now moving extremely fast. I agree when some of the technology, including Elon Musk, say, "Hey guys, slow down a little bit," okay? Because we get excited, which is the positive of human nature. Be passionate about, we get excited with the new innovation, but then we move in completely on the opposite side. Then instead, we should control it a little bit better, go slowly, go more cautious. We need to gain the cautiousness of what we are doing, not only our own consciousness, which is another story completely, but we need to also be a little bit more cautious of what we're doing, and we need to be slow down a little bit. Our society today is going so fast. It's like we want to burn our lives. And for what? We are running for what? We are running everywhere. We always, if you see people around us, they're always in rush of something. People is stressed about time.
yeah,
How you can be stressed about time? That one is something that we never have to forget. So let's
yeah,
slow down a little bit.
yeah.
Let's regain a little bit about our lives.
I agree. I
Even
agree.
me, that I'm launching a new business now, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Is it really worth it? Well, I'm gonna give it a go. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do my best for be successful. And if it's not successful, hey, I can go back to farming. Why not? I'm going to do something a little bit more helpful
Yeah.
instead, why not? There are
Yeah.
so many people that during the pandemic, today I was listening another podcast about how many people through the pandemic, they decided to go back to basic life because they couldn't cope anymore. And I'm not surprised. And actually, I agree with them. They may be right. Maybe it's going to take me a little bit longer to reach that stage. But I'm a believer in innovation, and I believe innovation can bring us so far away. But we need to be slowly down a little bit and digest and help each other.
Yeah. I agree. I think that it's just like so amazing, and also like where did all this come from with so many AI companies coming out in like the last month? So many. And I think that it's amazing to see how we can change our life and give our lives a little bit more time and meaning. ChatGPT has definitely helped me save time and not stress so much about things and do things more efficiently. So it's definitely helped me in so many ways in so many of the businesses and things that I'm working on. And speaking of, innovation and being an innovator, what made you decide to, have a passion about innovating this space by connecting women and creating a safe and equitable space for us, across the board? What made you passionate about that?
Look, you just told me, you just asked me a question before, and I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna tell you another little secret. I was lucky enough to grow up in a family where I was equal within my family. So my father brought me up to be an equal with men. But then the major issue was that what happened is that when I went out of my house, basically I was not equal in a working space. So in my house, my father and was brought me like a woman is equal and a man. And then I went to do my first job, not only my first job, actually, even a school. And I already start to seeing a difference. The different the teachers, so they were treating boys and girls, and then the professors. But I was not really paying so much attention because at home my father was telling me, no, you are equal, you are equal. And then when I started my first job and I saw the paycheck, I say, well, I'm not really equal.
Mhm, mhm.
So I had to go back to him and I say, what you tell me is not true.
Yeah,
And he told me, I'm sorry, but I believe that I teach you what I believe is true. Then go out there and do something about to change what society perceived that is wrong. And that only was the first step. The first step to say, okay, I don't want to be a feminist in the term, because by the way, my mom fight on 1968 at university level for the women rights, for the diversity rights of Black people and all of the minorities. So about she was very convinced about it and she fight for it. And but I decided that I need to do something about. So this is the way that I decided that, okay, in the industry that I'm going to work with, I'm going to make a difference, and I'm going to try to do my best with me leading by example, with my team, with the people I work with my network, with my friends. And it's true. I have a friends where I broke up. They are no more my friends because I'm sorry, they don't get it. And actually, they tell me that, like you say, when we are a little bit too firm, we are aggressive. Why you are aggressive? No, I'm not aggressive. I'm firm. And if I'm telling you that I don't like the way you're talking to me, you stop about it. That's it. And I feel that what happened is through the past 15 years, almost 20, I saw the difference in technology. And now more than ever, I'm profound believer that all the bases that we have, they are because developers, they are men. I myself creating apps, and I'm working so many projects, and I'm working with developers that they are men. And every time I say A, they understand B. And every time I say Z, they understand V. And I'm like, that I'm not talking about the same language. And because it's the mindset is completely different. And that is one of the reasons why I believe that women, they have to be representative everywhere. We need to go everywhere and we need to take more control of society. Because unfortunately, as many of you may see, and again, I don't want to go into it, but we are surrounded by egocentric men, narcissists, 90% of them white. They believe that their power, they are believed to be God in this planet. And that one is unacceptable in 2023. And if it wasn't for us as a women, we need to take more power. We need to go up and we need to make sure that we do it in a sensitive way, in a positive way for everybody.
Totally. I feel like everything you do really, shares those sentiments. You can really tell how passionate you are about creating equality for women across the board. I remember the space that you had at Decentral. It was, there were men coming in to listen. They were welcome to listen, but they could not touch the food in the back because that was for the women in this space. And I loved it. I was like, oh, really caring, about women. This is amazing. And it made me feel really good. We were both like, fuck yeah. This is somebody that really takes, our equality seriously, because there's other places to get food,
Mhm.
there. And you just having that space was so empowering and giving us time to have these workshops as women in a women's space. So it really felt like a safe space. And I love what you're doing.
A lot of people has been keeping telling me, "Oh, but you are not really for equality, or you are not really." I've been challenged so many times, all over again, all the time, and I'm like, I want to create a safe space for women.
Yeah.
And when I say for women, is because if today I want to talk about menopause, if today I want to talk about my menstruation, why I need to tell it in public?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to tell to the women because the women understand what I feel. If
Yeah.
today I have a huge headache because I lost a lot of blood, because this is the reality of a
Totally.
nature,
Yeah.
I know that if I speak to women, women understand immediately. If I speak to men, they will tell me, take a vitamin. Oh, you don't eat enough. Oh, let's have a cup of coffee. I don't need to have a cup of coffee. I
Yeah.
need just to listen to me.
Yeah. Totally.
Right? And this is why I was saying we need a safe space, not because I want to exclude the men. And by the way, I love men, and I feel that without men, because they are keeping us in balance. This is why nature is give us the diversion and the diversity that we are, and this is why we're all diverse, and everybody has something to bring on the table. But at some point, I want to have my own space. And one thing that I really want to, and most of ending for this podcast, is my learning coming to Dubai, coming to Middle East. I mean, honestly speaking, I've been brainwashed by women in the Middle East on TV every day. But women in the Middle East, especially those that they believe they are Muslim and they believe in their own, in their own religion, they are very happy how they are. And when I'm going to a gym with the women, only women, because in Middle East you have gym for only women, you have a swimming pool for only women. Oh my God, I feel so good. Nobody watching my little belly, nobody watching my cellulite, nobody, nobody cares. As a women, we don't care for each other. We don't care about this kind of exterior appearances. And it's unbelievable when I tell people I went to a gym where as soon as I get in, all the women around me, they come to me, they say, they introduce themselves, they show me the machine, they tell me how to do it, or if I need any help. I mean, we are absolutely amazing. I went to the swimming pool where there were women with a full suit, women in bikini, women in any circumstances. Nobody watching me. Nobody look at my finger or my, if I have the nails or if I have white hair or whatever. Nobody did. And everybody was smiling to each other. And that one is one part when people doesn't get it. So I'm asking myself, yes, of course, there is important evolution, even in the female condition in the Middle East. That one there is not a doubt. But doesn't mean it that I need to come here with a knife and cut straight tides of thousand and thousand years, culture, religion, because not everybody feel that this is a suppression.
Yeah.
So I personally feel very comfortable in the Middle East. And I'm a white woman coming here, living here now for almost 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and not super safe. Everybody respect me 3 times more. Everybody is smiling at me. Everybody give me the chair when I'm in the tube, when I'm underground, the subway.
Nice.
I mean, I actually quite embarrassed. I have to tell them, no, no, don't worry. I'm going to the, I'm like, I know I'm pregnant. So why you give me the chair? Right? But there's such
Right.
a gentleman, old fashioned kind of approach that it's really touch me
Yeah. That's
because there
wonderful.
is a certain respect. Of course, they know everybody, and there is always some bad apples around. I don't doubt about it. But overall, this is the reality. And I've been in Saudi Arabia in February. I had a huge event in Riyadh where I met amazing young women, 30 years old. I asked directions. I was by myself. I feel a little bit uncomfortable. And they came to me, 6 of them. They even bring me to the airport by taxi. They share my mobile, the internet connection. Super, super friendly. I mean, super friendly. And I don't know what to say more than that. And this is why we are different. And this is why we need to be more open your heart, open your brain, and we need to be more supportive with each other, and when I go to an event, the first things I do, I introduce myself to all the women in the room.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are less than the others anyway, and we always connect. But
Love that.
especially I learned this one when I started to do board meetings and advisory board meetings when I was, very a lot of men and very little women.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and for some women's come natural, for some other women's it doesn't,
Yeah.
because they had a it it doesn't come naturally because they had a very tough life during the journey of work and the journey of life. But we are here to show them that there is always good people around, and that one is very
Totally.
important.
Yeah, making people feel comfortable and that if you're comfortable with letting other people know that you're there to listen, that's wonderful. No pressure, on that either. Some people are, just like I said, we haven't been taught to deal with a lot of emotions. A lot of us have been in quarantine. There's a lot of, people that are just kind of introverted, and that's just how they are. And they need someone else to come up to them. And I'm always trying to be that person to come up to other people, make sure that I know that, I care about them and they feel heard, and all of, that.
In that case, I would like to strike some points, especially if you are introvert. Think about that there is an opportunity now with metaverse.
Yeah, totally.
I'm a profound believer that for people who doesn't feel comfortable, to shake hands or to speak to or break the ice with other people and create a network in real life, because maybe they're shy, because maybe they're not happy about how they are. I told you I have a big belly, so because I love eating, hey ho. But I believe that one important part is we are creative the metaverse to create an avatar, to
Yeah.
create a conversation in a safe environment, always a safe environment, where you can speak to people, and you can open up yourself, and you can even know more about yourself. So even if you are behind a screen, sitting on a desk in a computer, with the metaverse, you can experience other worlds, you can experience traveling around the globe, and you can experience speaking to people in different language, different culture, and different places
Yeah,
without moving your chair.
I
And
love
that
that.
one is the great part that I love about the metaverse. The metaverse can really enhance our lives
Yeah,
without moving from our home. Of course, it's not, I don't say that is a replacement of real traveling, because real traveling is completely another planet. And the fact that you can experience traveling around the globe is so powerful.
yeah,
Wherever it can compensate a little bit and can create slowly, little step by step, the confidence in some people that is introvert can find. And maybe you can maybe feel more comfortable to go out from home, maybe go into your next town, next country or next state.
yeah,
Slowly. You don't need to go fast. You don't need to take a plane tomorrow. But
totally.
definitely is a learning curve, and this is what I like about the metaverse.
And that there's so many. It's so wide and vast. I think last August there were 19,000, and there's got to be like probably over 50 by now.
Mm.
Different spaces and metaverses, which is amazing. Decentraland, there's spatial, there's a whole bunch of different ones that are being created, and I think it's really important. A lot of people already kind of have metaverse-ish experience with The Sims, with World of Warcraft, and things like that, which is really interesting. And we're moving into different spaces where you can have that like equality, which we want to meet other people in a really new and interesting way, except for on board chats and things like that. My last question, because we we have been talking for a long time and I love it, I could talk to you forever. I just wanted to see how you feel like you balance your values and priorities with your personal life and business life. And if you have any suggestions, if we, like it's a really rare thing to do that in Web3, totally no, it's very, very hard. But do you have anything that you do for your own personal self? I know that you said that you meditate.
Um, Definitely, I'm a sports person. So I love sports. I always done since I was a kid. So I'm playing tennis, I'm swimming, and I can't tell you how much elements of nature help us. For me, for example, the way I am, I'm a very earthy person. So for me, water, which is completely the opposite, he's helping me so much. When I swim, I'm going to another dimension. He's helping me to really reconnect with my body, with myself, with the silence. The silence of a swimming pool or swimming in a lake or a sea is amazing. And I strongly suggest, especially like we say before, for our mind that they're very fast. And the second part is I love movies, especially sci fiction. I'm a big fanatic. And because I always believed that movies, they are fiction becoming reality. Most recently, I was speaking to another friend of mine who has a huge project, which is called Project Moonheart. So we want to create live we want to create people living in the moon, so create a life in the moon. And I was talking to people working in NASA, people, engineering aerospace, which is a big topic these days. And they were telling me all the she fiction movies out there, which one they are really real, which one we have the real technology to make it happen. And it was so fascinating. And these kind of things allow me to dream and to read books and to watching movies and dream to our better life and things that we can do as a humans. And last, I feel that that one is definitely one part which I always love it. Um, I love everything is about stones and crystals. I believe that we need to also reconnect with nature as a energy being of this planet. And I do quite a lot of feng shui from China. I do quite a lot of Christology. I do Reiki, and I believe in that. I believe is helping me to keep my balance sharp and my personal and professional life.
I think that holistic, we do sound bowl healing, my wife and I, and she does meditation and yoga, and it has definitely helped me. I don't do it enough, but I definitely need to. I love the benefits that you get from, coming back to self and just focusing more on listening to your body. I think that's really important, and who you are, what you want to bring to the world. And I think that it's definitely something that more people can benefit from and focus on is Reiki is really, really amazing. My grandmother did, she was a shamanic, like priestess, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's an amazing experience. And I suggest more people try to do that because it's amazing. So if you don't, try it out. And yeah, I appreciate you sharing that with us and letting us know more about you and your life, how you came to be who you are. It's a beautiful story, and I really appreciate you sharing everything that you have today with us. And I really look forward to talking to you again. I love every time that we talk. It's really, fun experience. I love to know what you're doing, who you're doing it with. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I really
Thank you
appreciate
so much.
it. Of
Thank
course.
you.
Yeah.
And to all the audience that is follow your podcast, because you are an amazing human being. You are an amazing soul. And I feel that somehow we are connected accidentally, or maybe not. Maybe it's the planet that wants us to meet almost 7 months ago. And we start a lovely conversation. And I'm so pleased that you're part of my life. Thank you, Elise.
Me too. I hope that you have a really great week and weekend. Do something for you. And thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, my dear. Take care. Bye.